I have a
Hello,
crazy.
everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to X2.
Are we actually live now?
Yes, we were live the whole time you were doing that.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tap Calf Transmissions, the tappiest transmissionist podcast this side of the Heidian Way. I'm doing the intro today. We didn't talk about it.
No,
I
it's
didn't
making me
decide
uncomfortable.
beforehand.
But go.
I just started talking.
You're doing a great job. We used to trade off. I
Yep.
don't know why we stopped. I think it was because it was based on whose channel we were on. And then, yeah. So, yeah.
I just got back from an elementary school dance. Very sweaty. My almost 4-year-old daughter just wanted to be thrown around a lot, so I
That's
did do
fun.
that because I'm a good dad. And
Not at
yeah,
other kids, right?
no. Although August, my son, that's all he did was just sprint around the entire time, like because he's in
Naruto
grade
run?
1. So like that's all they want to do is like that's what the dance is, just sprinting around.
That's what that time in your life is for, running nonstop.
Yep.
The best is if you had like some kind of anime power up in your mind for how you were able to run as fast as you could. Unless that was
He
just
got
me,
new,
I don't
he's
know.
wearing new shoes, so that's what it was for him today.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was like there was the Digimon power ups; those were always important. Mostly the Digimon ones, actually. But
Yeah.
back
Oh,
in
we
back in
usually
our
get,
day.
I'd say like once every like 2 or 3 months, we'll get drunk on the X2 channel and talk about Digimon.
Yeah, that's our other podcast, is our Digimon rewatch
I'll
podcast.
wake up and my browser tab will just be like literally 60 tabs of just like me clicking through the various Digimon evolutionary charts.
All right, well, today's Digimon chart that we're going to be talking about is Star Wars: The Glass Abyss. So this is a new novel by Stephen Barnes, who you may recognize as an author who's now contributed to both Legends and canon. I think it's Cestus Deception, and that's it that he's done.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I was sure of this before, but I'm not sure of it anymore. So yeah, we'll be talking about Cestus Deception. We were also sent by Kieran in our email. We were sent a list of every Star Wars Legends novel that we haven't covered.
Oh, nice.
So, any guesses on how many there are that we haven't covered?
Well, what is it counting as a novel?
No young reader stuff. So, like regular
Okay.
novels.
62.
No, higher. There are
Really?
98 left.
Oh, fuck.
The first alphabetically is Allegiance. The last alphabetically is X-Wing Mercy Kill.
I could have guessed the last one, I think.
Well, there.
That's the last. That's the only X-Wing we haven't done, right?
Yeah, because we covered all the ones leading up to the Vong War. So it is just Mercy Kill. But it kind of makes sense.
Last one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense, though, because there's 9 Fate of the Jedi, 9 Legacy of the Force. There's like 5 or 6 Republic Commandos. It does include all the Clone Wars novels, so the 5...
Right.
Yeah, Clone Wars novelization, that doesn't really count. Gambit 2, No Prisoners, Wild Space, all that stuff. There's actually going to be, I think, a release of Force Unleashed soon, like audiobook-ally.
They just sent me the audiobook.
So that might be something to cover sooner.
I've never read it before, so.
Yeah, neither have I. That could be a good one. But yeah, so main topic today is going to be The Glass Abyss. And before we get to that, any Star Wars news that's come out?
Goddamn, has it ever been slow?
There is the release date for Skeleton Crew. Is like December 3rd, December 2nd.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I think that's what happened.
Yeah, I didn't see that. So
I'm looking
at. I just checked Star Wars Leak, and there's some new concept art for Plagueis up there.
Nice.
He's got a lightsaber in it. But yeah, not much. There was a new comic that I read. Normally I don't read Star Wars comics, but I was giving this one a chance. It's I believe we talked about it. The new one set kind of before, like leading up to Jakku. It's Star Wars Yeah,
The big
it's
kind
one
of
that's got like
everyone comes together at the Battle of Jakku, bringing together all those storylines and stuff.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm following that. That looks interesting. Um, yeah. Other than that, not a whole lot.
All right, so we are getting the end of the High Republic soon, I believe.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, I think the last adult novel comes out pretty soon.
Oh, the
But
last one ever?
I think so. Uh,
Oh, wow.
it it might be like soon as in March, but let's see.
Oh, yeah, that comic had Gallius Rax. Well, I think it's Gallius Rax in it. That's what I
Yeah,
must
I
have
think
mentioned.
Joel tagged us
Yeah, Joel
in
Magnus.
him being back. Oh, never mind. Junior novels 2025, like in June. Okay, yeah, Trials of the Jedi's not out until June. I'm a liar.
I just
Is
like, to be fair, I didn't read the last one, but do you think they're going to be able to wrap it up in a nice way?
I think
Like,
so. Okay, so
or do
Tears
you
the
think they'll
Nameless
have
came out a
told
couple
it?
weeks ago. That's what I was thinking. I
Oh,
thought that
okay.
was the final young adult. It's the second last young adult. So we're not there. Sorry.
So
Go
do you
ahead.
think they'll have told a story like that's fulfilling, like in a total way?
I
Because
think probably.
I'm not asking a leading question either. I'm kind of out of it at this point. So
I feel like the biggest thing it needs to like it's got to clear up stuff with March and Row, and it needs to deal with like some sort of resolution for the Nameless. I think those are the two big
mm,
things it needs to do, and I think one book can finish that off, especially because they've got like the other stuff to like the young adult novels or whatever to
yeah,
put any extra details in. Like I like phase 2, I think told its own story, and I think it did a good job of that. Like I was that was my favorite part of the High Republic so far, and
yeah,
so I bring that up only because it is the thing that you skipped,
yeah.
and so that's why I'm sad. But like I think it'll
I'll probably read it at some point. Yeah. I just I was overwhelmed by the characters, and
yeah.
there were too many other books that I've wanted to read, and that's excuse me, something I do want to talk about a bit on this podcast. But yeah, with the High Republic, I don't know, like maybe it's because I'm older, but I just there's too many things I want to read. Like I lose the plot lines, especially where I sometimes I get through a book and I'm like I don't even really remember what the key takeaway is. That's maybe just a failure with how I read a little bit, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
that was
there can be a weakness when like doing it for the podcast. Anything you're doing with the deadline, there's more
yeah,
pressure to get
for sure.
through, and then that can change it. But
Yeah.
But speaking of a lot of characters, we have the Glass
Mm.
Abyss. So basically, this is a story that's set like right after Episode One. So it's a Mace Windu novel. He has been given a job by Qui-Gon Jinn, his longtime friend, newfound dead friend, to go back to a planet that
Mission
Qui-Gon
Impossible.
had. Yeah,
Yeah.
to go back to a planet that Qui-Gon had tried to help before. He'd been evacuated, he had failed his mission, and now Mace Windu is going to fulfill it. So before we get into it too much, any overall preliminary thoughts? How do you feel?
I gotta readjust. I had some mixed thoughts. So this book is clearly it was weird for a Star Wars book. Like they're definitely trying to do some. Okay, this book is sort of a good example of the problem I've had with Star Wars canon book releases for the past 3 years, I guess. Well, since 2022 when we got Alphabet Squadron 3 and we got the Ronin. Those were like the last two Star Wars canon books that I really enjoyed. Like last year and this year, there wasn't a whole lot, and I was definitely getting very frustrated reading the start of this book. And I did say, yeah, I'm done with Star Wars canon books. That's a bit much, but I'm tired of what feels like there's been like 4 or 5 stories in a row that are about one of the prequel characters, whether it's Mace, Padme,
The entire
Anakin, and
Jedi
Obi Wan.
Council.
Yeah, the entire Jedi Council, or even that Han Solo and Leia story, where it's like the uh, the formula is almost the exact same every time. they're on a new world, almost entirely on this one new world. The world gets a shitload of world building. A lot of the plot is about discovering some cultural or historical past of the planet. Nothing really happens, and then they leave, and that's kind of the end of it. And like, I thought this book was. I actually liked this book more than I expected because I watched Alex's review and I read a few other reviews, and the book I actually quite liked the first half of it. I thought the second half was quite bad, but I liked the setup. But it's just like they need to do something a little more interesting because, like, looking at the Star Wars canon book timeline book, like if I look at the release order, there are a bunch of these novels which there's also I think because they are so focused on one small adventure on one planet, they end up feeling very almost like weighed down in a way. So like looking at the releases we've had, and I'm also, to be completely fair to Star Wars, I'm checked at the High Republics, and that's where most of their effort is going. So completely fair. I'm trying not to be too overly critical, but the Glass Abyss, the Living Force, the Inquisitor book, Battle Scars kind of had its own problems, and then the Princess and the Scoundrel, Shadow of the Sith was not bad. Brotherhood, Queen's Hope, like all of these to me are just blending together as let's take this one character. We're really not going to learn a whole lot about them though, but we're going to see what they were doing directly before something more important happened. And Legends did that too all the time. But I think those books maybe took themselves a bit less seriously. Like this book felt very weighty in a way.
I think part of that's also in the way it was written. Like, I'd sort of cut you off on that, but
no.
the prose is kind of, and then the door was blocking his progress, and the progress was blocked, so the door must be opened. So he opened the door. Like it just everything's kind of choppy and very serious. But yeah, go ahead with your.
Yeah, no, I was pretty much all I was saying. Like in this book, I was waiting to learn something more about Mace as a character. Like I don't think it was as good as the legend stories that we read about him. I personally didn't think it was as good as Shatterpoint, for example. I know that's like probably the most obvious comparison point. I didn't like it as much as that, even though. Do you remember what we gave Shatterpoint?
I don't think it was actually that. I think it was our lowest of the Stover books. I'll see if I can pull that up.
Yeah. Like I think Shatterpoint was like a very, very similar novel where I liked the setup, and then it kind of completely went to Mace Windu ends up slaughtering a million things.
I tried to control F, and then I replaced the master episode list line with just shat. We both gave it B. So like it's up there, but it was definitely I think we've given every other Stover book that we read like S or at least A.
Yeah.
But
like this book was insane. Like there's no nuance about being a Jedi in this book. Like
no.
Mace Windu from almost Act 1 is doing the most heinous shit. Yeah. And like the book doesn't reflect on that. Like just for one example before we get into our full discussion. At the end, there's like this big civil war on the planet. Don't worry, we'll set up the plot. And Mace Windu encounters this general for the other side, and we learn that the general was a former slave, so he's got one of Anakin's slave implants in his head. And we also learned that he's kind of been held, like he's kind of been threatened by the big leader of the bad guy group, and that same leader also blew up his brother. So Mace Windu asks if his helper has the code, and I'm like, okay, he's going to try to talk to the guy, and he's going to be like, you've been betrayed. There's no need for this fighting. And Mace Windu's like, let's blow him up.
Like, I had the exact same reactions. Like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, like he was lied to. That's why he was trying to keep. So yeah. There's a dinner where they're together, and Mace thinks like, oh, well, this is why he was trying to keep us apart. That was risky for him, because someone, like, if we'd talked, I could have revealed that. and then that could have blown up this whole guy's plan. I'm like, oh, Craig, good. Yeah, that's a great plan that you just came up with, Mace.
Yeah.
But no, he's like, give me the button. I want to press the button.
And then he's like, maybe I shouldn't. I'll just threaten him with it, which is like still not the right fucking approach. Like, you're a Jedi. And then he blows his own head up accidentally, trying to get his fucking slave chip out. Because, like, that's one of the big themes of the story is, like, this planet, what is it, Metagos?
Metagos.
It sort of goes through these cycles. You can kind of see it happening again, where, like, the rich get overthrown by usually, like, the proletariat, often because there's these big solar storms. And then some of the usurpers end up getting power. And like, that's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah.
Like, they're literally cutting the crystal castle down from the sky, and like, the same shit's gonna happen again. Like, Mace leaves, she's like, well, I got my job. I've done my job.
So basically, the plot of the book, he gets his job from Qui-Gon, he heads to the planet. As Ek is saying, there's a kind of civil war that's going on there. The planet is basically controlled by two different gangster groups, and it's kind of set up like a reverse Coruscant. So Coruscant is like a bunch of levels vertically. Metagos is also a bunch of levels vertically, but it's down, so it's like a big cavern system. With like the farther down you go, the more like kind of oppressed everyone is, and people settle on the planet all the time, but every few thousand years, there's like a solar flare that irradiates the whole world, forcing everyone underground. So they go through that cycle of like, someone goes down, finds that they make this really strong silk. They start making the Hylians who live there produce it, sell it, and then someone rises up. They start living on the surface, and then like they control everything, and then the flare happens again. They're back underground. So it's that cycle, and Mace is coming in to try and like we're not really given a job for Mace. Like, we don't know specifically what he's there to do. It's kind of just fix the planet.
And I know what Qui-Gon Jinn thinks he's gonna do. Yeah,
well, we find out at the end, Qui-Gon he's just wingmaning for his bud and from beyond the grave, which, you know, that's a very Qui-Gon thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely is.
But Mace basically infiltrates every possible group on every side, and it's kind of like, it read to me like an RPG.
Yeah.
Like, he just had free agency. No one seemed to care. They all knew he was just on every side, and no one seemed to care what he was doing.
And I was waiting for it to matter because, yeah, he infiltrates these two groups. He spends more time. This one group is controlled by this crazy being named Chulok, who I do want to see some art, some fan art for. Mm-hmm. But he's basically a Rodian and a new alien species. I believe it was new, hooked together with like a flesh bridge. And they keep talking about how he's basically like a juggernaut out there, because both the creatures on their own are very large, like 7 or 8 feet tall. I don't know. I don't know how good of a fighter you'd be, but like, him infiltrating Chulok's group doesn't really end up mattering very much.
No,
because it ends with like, he doesn't get any really useful intel. It's his robot who helps him find kind of what is going on, who they blame for something she had no fucking fault in whatsoever. And what's crazy, so what this kind of reminded me of was Dark Disciple in a way.
Okay.
Especially so Quinlan Voss is infiltrating, well, he's trying to become basically a bounty hunter, and he's working with Asajj, and he's got to play this game of like, okay, I need to ingratiate myself to her, but I need to not actually do things that are bad. Mace Windu in this is like, Chulok orders him to go kill a guy, and he just goes and does it. Like, he provokes the guy into what will be a deadly brawl. Yeah. And like, that's not something the book ever thinks about. Like, my note is, Mace just killed the dude, because he did. He just killed the dude, and he doesn't think about it.
Is that the card game one?
Yeah, the card game.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he kind of thinks like, maybe he's like, as he's twisting the guy's blaster around to his face, he's like, maybe he won't shoot. He does shoot, and he blasts his own face off. But Mace Windu kills the guy. He feels no regret. He doesn't try to do anything else. And it's just like, there's no moral. Like, that's what I liked about the early bit of Dark Disciple, when he is playing that game of like, okay, how far do I go, and trying to, pretend to not be a Jedi. And this is like, no, Mace, like he kills so many people in this book. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, I think that comes from this the fundamental way that the book views this conflict, because you have Chulok's group who's trying to like take power on the planet. Then you have the Sibylians who are like they work for Sybil and they're mostly her kids. It's like some kind of insectoid species. I forget what
Yeah.
species he was. It
Like,
was a bit hard to keep track because they're like
he's
three
like a big
insects that
hut,
are
kind of.
yeah, it's like a hut relative that turned into a bug. Because
Yeah.
Mace is thinking about it later. He's like, oh, maybe the mutagens made them turn into this. But yeah, so those are the two groups, and they it really does kind of boil down to there's the good guy, which is the normal people and the Jedi, and then there's the criminals. And as soon as you're a criminal, you're kind of just like you're fucked. There's one or two people that can cross that line back by showing personal loyalty to Mace Windu. Like
Yeah.
Tra, I forget what her name was. One of
Oh,
the
the
lieutenants
lieutenant.
that work
Yeah.
for Chulok. But largely, like as soon as you are in this kind of crime situation, like you're done. Like Mace does
Yeah.
not care about your life anymore.
Which completely misses the point, because like in regards to those people, those beings, I forget what they're even called. The whole point is that they've got no choice, basically. Like they're born to Sybil. They have to fight for their survival because they kill each other. A lot of them are like put in orphanages and stuff.
Yeah.
And like the whole point of this planet is like people are under the boot of other people. They're doing what they can to try to survive. You know, I don't know if you've ever read Dune, but it's a lot like Dune, where Mace is a Paul Atreides character, but the whole point at the end of Dune is that Paul Atreides goes way fucking too far and starts his like jihad against the universe. And like this book is like, let's do that.
Yeah.
But also the jihad isn't actually an issue. It's kind of cool actually.
Yeah, like there's a literal like they literally just cleanse the city or the planet of the criminal elements, but like even when they're trying to get the civilians to fight against it, like there's sympathy for the civilians for having to live under this situation, but like when they're trying to recruit, they say, "Oh, if you're not going to help us, kind of go fuck yourself actually. Don't say you did later. Don't say you cared." And like there's some elements of like understanding what a systemic issue is where they're talking about the production of the I want to call it yarn. It's not yarn, silk.
Yeah.
And they talk about how Sybil will punish people to drive up production. That'll work in the short term, but then they'll all just like burn out. It'll get worse right after that. So like there's some understanding like, yeah, this is a bad thing to do, but no real examination of like, yeah, how do these people who are involved in this get involved? Does living on this planet potentially mean they only have two possibilities for who they can go work for? Like they're all paying protection money. You're going to be forced into service of some kind.
Yeah. At the end, it's like the children. You can earn your citizenship. Like, what do you mean children can earn their citizen? Like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, this is the meme of calling Spider-Man on the guy doing the fucking weed trade or like the weed deal, and then Spider-Man throws him off a building.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here, Mace Windu?
Yeah, like
He's the most un-Jedi fucker of all time in this story.
the card game you were talking about, like it's basically classic entrapment, where he can say, "Oh, I'm doing everything I can to avoid killing people," and like he does try to arrange things so that he doesn't have to kill people sometimes. Like he also
Sometimes.
is able to see the consequences of his own actions. Like he can understand point A leads to point B, and like there's no other real outcome that he could expect for a lot of it. So
Yeah.
he really
Dude who's supposed
escalates.
to be able to see. Yeah.
Yeah, he sees the only option is escalating this conflict. And there's a moment where he finds out. So he's having these really bad dreams that are like they're basically nightmares, making him question whether he chose to join the Jedi, making him question what he knows about his own past. And he finds out that these are
For some reason. That's I'm tired of the savage Mace, like the savage Mace Windu trend is
Yeah.
like it's pretty fucking racist in a way. Like if
Hmm.
we look at a lot, like why does Mace Windu comes from space Africa, like racist space Africa a lot of the times, and it's like it's just there's some problems.
Yeah, we talked about that a bit more in the in the Shatterpoint
It's like
discussion,
so it's
but
like
yeah.
Uncle Ruckus.
Doesn't go super well because eventually both sides pick up on it. They make an alliance against the civilians, against Mace and Kinshan's group. Uh, Kinshan's a member of like this kind of priest sect called the Sod, but they're not
The
overall going to be
Fremen.
as good at fighting as the gangs are. So
Yeah.
once the two gangs pick up on what's happening, they make an alliance, and it's up to the Hylians to bring in these fungus. And like there's an element of the whole living in harmony with nature, they're upsetting natural balance, that it seems like they're trying to put in with that part of the story. It's just that wasn't a huge part of what leads up to it, so it feels a little disjointed. And then they just
Yeah,
kind of come in to be wrecking balls, and then they just literally stand there and then
totally.
walk back and close the gate behind them.
Well, they also bow. But no,
That's true.
I find this is kind of an issue with all those books I mentioned of the last 2 years, where it's like the first 2/3 is set up, and then once the action starts, like in this, it's the total war, something similar. I remember in the Han and Leia book, it's like that's all it is, and like all of the nuance and thought kind of goes out the window.
Hmm.
Um, which I mean, yeah, to a degree, that's kind of rising conflict and shit. But yeah, it's that was weird. That didn't feel like it needed to be in the book.
Yeah.
And it kind of removes a little of the tension as well. But yeah.
Well, like part of it is the whole. I think like different things living in harmony. So like there's the two gangs, they're not working anymore. There's Chew and Locke. They're like they come more and more apart as the book goes on, even though they want to bring Mason as a third. Just to spice things up a little bit. But like there's the people in the planet, but like most of the people don't really learn too much about what's important about the planet either. So
Mm-hmm.
they have that message of uh the hunter becomes the prey, kind of the abused becomes the hunted, like all that cycle, but nothing really feels like it's fixed in this. Like you were saying, we're gonna be right back where they were. And I don't know, it feels like just a very anti-French Revolution book, actually. That's what this is about.
Well, yeah, it does because I was thinking that too because the people who Mace is killing were, not that long ago, many of them in the same position as the ones he's helping now, especially like the general is the best example. He was literally a slave
Hmm.
is- from who escaped the Zygerians, who is now rose into prominence. And like they said, it's happened time and time again. And like it tries to do like a little it tries to counteract that by saying, "Oh, the poor they really share more than the rich do between them." And like there were a few good richies, but most of them are pretty bad. But it felt like it was really that theme was really lacking something, especially with how it ended.
Yeah, I did appreciate the talking about it with like the tourism at the start, where
That was
the the tourists were obnoxious, and then Mace doesn't want to be like them. Just like growing up in Niagara, it really spoke to me. Just like tourists.
yeah,
No, I think that was my
yeah,
first note. Yeah, I
yeah.
wrote
That's a
tourists
good way to
suck.
put it.
Thanks for vendor scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we did get some more Legends callbacks in the book as well. So we had a pretty big role for Rurians, a Rurian
Mm.
doctor, which I think
Yeah.
they might have been canon already, but I still like seeing them. They were first introduced in the Han Solo books. They don't live very long, but they live proud. So I love a good Rurian. More
Yeah.
importantly, we had the reintroduction to canon of one of Mace's mentors, Trissaw, who
Yeah.
became a pretty important Jedi in Legends as well, where she's one of the ones that's left on the council after Luke dies. She makes it
Hmm.
through with Kukruk in Legacy.
Hmm. Yeah.
So nice Legends callbacks there. But
Yeah.
like I think my biggest problem with it kind of came from I never really knew what Mace was trying to accomplish at any given moment. There were moments where it seemed like, okay, I know what's going to be the next goal for a character, but then it just kind of gets resolved in the next moment or two. Like when Maya gets captured, the droid Maya, who he becomes friends with.
Yeah.
Uh,
I kind of imagined like that droid from Force Unleashed
Proxy?
because he's a hollow droid, right?
Yeah,
So
I can see that.
yeah,
Probably probably is what she's based on.
yeah,
She gets captured, and then Mace like immediately rescues her, and then he gets captured after rescuing her, and then he's kind of just out after that. Like
yeah.
there's moment to moment, it like you don't really know what Mace is working towards for a lot of it. We know he's trying to gain the trust of
No,
everyone, but no one ever really seems to question what he's doing anywhere. He calls himself Solver. He starts working for Sybil. He does like one thing for her, and then we never see them talk again. He does like one job for Chulok, and then
the
he's just
train
kind of
heist,
like
right?
involved in Chulok's meetings for a while, and then
Yeah,
he's also helping like the regular people, and he's just kind of able to go around, and no one really everyone implicitly trusts him because he's a Jedi, except for the ones who don't know he's a Jedi, and they're the ones who trust him because he's not a Jedi. Like Chulok has no OPSEC, but
no. I mean, considering like he's seen hanging out with like the Resistance, well, the like he's pretty obviously not not being
yeah,
not being chill.
but because he's a freelance,
Um,
like they say he's a freelancer, and that seems good enough for everyone. Like I couldn't tell how much they knew or how much they didn't know, how much they should know. But like,
yeah,
there's one
I
scene
kind
where
of like
Chulok.
that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, like going back to Dark Disciple, that was one aspect I liked of that book where they're kind of losing themselves and they don't really know what they're doing, but they're just doing it. Um, and there's other Star Wars books too where Jedi, they get off the Jedi path for a bit and they kind of allow themselves to fall into a role that's not theirs, and they kind of like that in a way. And there's elements of that to Mace where like he does like beating people up and even killing people sometimes. But yeah, it's like the way that he starts the Civil War comes completely out of nowhere, I would say. He doesn't do most of the legwork on it. It's the droid. And it just makes all the time he spent with the syndicates just really feel kind of weird.
Yeah, like it all like so. There's one scene where Chulok is talking about him, and where Chulok
Mhm.
says he wants to talk to him, and
Mhm.
then so you think that there's going to be a meeting between them, right? And then there just isn't. They just don't.
Yeah.
They don't talk after that for like. I think the next scene they're together after that is the dinner. So it does feel like it's very like what Mace is doing is very disconnected from this, and
Yeah.
then it just kind of the war happens and he participates.
Yeah, it's also kind of like that moment where he gets the old witch trial, where we'll throw her in with rocks on her feet, and if she survives, she's a witch, and she'll have to be killed. And if she dies,
Yeah,
well, she was innocent. But he survives, and they just
don't do
call it off
anything.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he's that's how the brother of General Slithar
yeah,
gets killed, which you
yeah,
think is setting up for Mace being able to call that out. Like it's set up as a decent mystery of like, okay, what happened? How is this Chekhov's gun gonna fire? And it's like the gun gets taken down off the wall, and instead of getting fired, someone just throws it in the trash.
yeah. Throws it out out the window. Then the camera pans, and it's the end credits. That's the end.
And like there's other elements of that in the book where like you get a couple perspective chapters from other people. It's mostly Mace, But
Okay.
there's the one chapter with Qui-Gon at the start, and then
Right.
there's the other chapter just after that with Maya, I think it is. And like it's kind of set up as Maya's going to try to find out who the solver, which is Mace's persona, is, but then we just don't, like, she kind of immediately figures it out and goes and says like, I trust you to Mace, and Mace is like, I trust you. And there's a lot of that where like, oh, he's Mace is thinking, oh, they're testing me, and I passed by also testing them, and now we all know each other in our most intimate secrets. And it would have been nice having, like, we know what Mace is doing, so having more of those perspective chapters of other people figuring out what Mace is doing might have been a good
Mm-hmm.
way to build some of that tension when like no one else is really openly questioning what Mace is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. I, like even Mace's love story in this is, I mean, that one gets a resolution, but Mace never thinks about, and this is young Mace as well. Like he never, younger Mace anyway, he never thinks about, okay, I'm falling in love with somebody,
Mm-hmm.
but he very easily at the end walks away. Like it's no
Yeah,
problem whatsoever. He may have he may have made love with this woman.
he
It was
did.
unclear to me. Yeah, they at least kissed.
They became as
He
close
laid
as
the.
two beings could without becoming one, which I think is a reference to Chulok, not a reference to them not having
You see,
sex.
I thought. See, I thought that was specifically saying the opposite, where they were holding each other as close as they could without becoming one. I thought it meant that they were doing as much as they could without banging. But there was
Just
a
hand
scene
stuff.
earlier where yeah, there was a scene. Well, I just thought they meant they were literally holding each other close. But
Yeah.
there was a scene earlier where I thought they did, where like they start kissing and it fades out to black, basically.
Yeah, I feel like the without becoming one wasn't like a euphemism for sex. I think it was a euphemism for Chulok.
Right.
So
Okay.
I
That
think
does
they
make
did
sense.
at least twice. But
Yeah,
yeah, like that
and
could
like he
have
doesn't
been,
think about it, and it's
yeah.
like it's not. Yeah.
The big thing for him in the book is, did he choose to become a Jedi? And he even talks to Yoda at the end in a fun conversation about like, making, you need to be able to make that choice again as an adult for it to really
Yeah.
count, because like as a kid they don't know what's going on, and then if they're making that choice for a bunch of kids, like how can they teach kids without really being honest about whether they want to be there themselves. But yeah, but as much as Mace wonders if he made that choice as a kid and then finds out that he did, he never thinks again about like what that actually means to choose to be a Jedi and how
Right.
what he's doing might relate to that. Because they're like, you get like very close to the edge of him considering that, but it's not something that
Yep.
really consciously comes up. And I think that probably is a weakness to his storyline here and like his character examination here.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you chose to become a Jedi when you had no parents left. Your parents got squad wiped, and like, but yeah, like, what is that? And like, that's the whole thing with this book. Like, okay, we learned that Mace is always talking about how he's not sleeping well, but we don't feel his actual like, compared to like the High Republic with what's his name,
Elzar?
uh, Elzar, yeah, where he's like, the him thinking about his relationship is compelling, and just the idea of did I really choose to become a Jedi is a good one, but we don't actually we're told it's affecting him, but we don't actually
Hmm.
see how it is. We don't see his or hear his internal dialogue or how it's affecting him. We just see him doing all these horrific things. The book treats it like a neutral or a good thing. Um, and like we're not. Well, then once he finds out, oh, okay, yeah, when I was 4, I did choose to crawl, or younger, he seems, I did choose to crawl towards this lightsaber, so I chose, I guess. Like,
Hmm.
it's not compelling stuff, and it could have been.
Yeah, I think it's just that like so many of those things do end up feeling kind of transient, like they're brought up to bring them up, and then they don't
Yeah,
fundamentally impact the choices that are being made around them. But
yeah,
like,
totally agree.
so I think we've covered a lot of our issues with the plot and kind of covered the whole plot as we get out to it. Like they resolve the Civil
Yep.
War, and then it kind of imply like the Sod are in charge now, and they're gonna keep doing their the silk making. Everyone's kind of happy for now, but maybe in the future we'll see the cycle again. But at least we like the Sod probably aren't going to be abusive. So that's nice. There's still
Mm.
other work to do on the planet, but I did enjoy, even if I do agree with you that uh, these stories end up going like super deep on one planet and then kind of missing some other stuff for that. I do enjoy a lot of the world building that does happen for its own sake in those books, and
Yep.
that's the same case here. Like, I think this is an interesting planet. I think it's like a fun inversion of Coruscant, literally and metaphorically. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I I did get a bit lost in all the species that
Yeah.
were getting brought up because it took me a while to really nail down who was what. But I think I got there eventually. But I did like the planet.
I like Chulok as well, although I
Mhm.
really struggled to imagine a tough Rhodian. Like those little sucker fingers.
I
Nah.
think it's like the ones I was trying to think of where they are. There's somewhere where they get like a very bulky Rhodian. I think it's a game.
Um, Mace Windu is also pretty racist at one point where he meets one of the enforcers, one of Chulok's enforcers, the like hairy one. Um, and he's just like, yeah, this guy, he's got disgusting fur and disgusting eyes. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
he is a bad guy, but like that's also a pretty racist thing to say.
Don't much like those aliens.
Yeah.
Did I just imagine this? Uh, Can you not think of like a broad-shouldered Rhodian?
No,
Is this
I
just my
can.
dream?
I mean, maybe. Not saying it's not. It might be.
Anyone
Yeah, I'm
else
not sure.
jealous of you? Maybe I'm thinking of just Relo. I don't
Was that from the
from
game?
Jedi Knight.
Is there like one in what's it called? That fuck, what's that game called? The uh the squad shooter that we were playing?
In
League of
Arena,
Legends. Yeah. Is there a
or
Rodian in
is
that
that
maybe?
what is that game actually called? It's not called Arena. It's Star Wars. I liked it though. I like it too, and I still want to. I get all the notifications,
Yeah.
and I want to play it.
I get so many emails from it. It's
Hunters.
Hunters, yeah.
No, because the Rhodian's a little fast guy,
Okay.
but I'm picturing something which like it's not a fat Rhodian. Relo's just a fat Rhodian, but it's like big hulking Rhodian.
I can't
I
think
I
of it.
must be making this. I'll stop.
I mean, I'm sure there's got to be one, but I don't know.
I'm
I'm not
picturing it
scared.
almost with like Tor graphics. Maybe it's a Tor thing.
All man the Rodian. If you know, please email us
Yeah, I need
because
this.
I'm curious now too.
Well, any more positive elements that we want to highlight in the book? Because I feel like I didn't hate this book. I think it probably
No, I
sounds
didn't
like
hate
we
it
both
either. It
hated
was
the book.
fine.
I didn't
No,
love the book, but I feel like we've probably been more
it was
negative
pretty
than
Wasn't super long.
it was fairly long.
Yeah, it was not short enough.
I think it was longer than it needed to be for what it was doing. Like I think 150 pages of this could probably go, and it wouldn't be the biggest
Yeah, it
loss in the
was.
world. But
It's yeah, it was pretty. I like Dune a lot, and it definitely reminded me a lot of Dune, um, in a way. But I was reading other books that I preferred, so I was kind of frustrated. I had to take a break, but not bad. I'm gonna give it a C.
all right, yeah, that's where I was going to land as well. I like the world building in it. I don't think the character work was as strong as it should have been for a book that was kind of like
I like
less
Chulok's
plot
character
heavy.
work, but I
Chulak was
like
interesting.
some of the others. Well, also, Chulok pretending to use the Force that never came up again.
Yeah, that there are so many like cool concepts that kind of come up and then just aren't explored upon. Like
Yeah,
Chulak tries to frame himself as a Force user. Uh,
which is funny because he reminded me a lot of that one from Dark Forces 2. Um, Remember that Dark Jedi from Dark Forces 2?
Bach, are you thinking of?
Yeah, maybe.
Like the Twi'lek?
No, isn't there like aren't there twins in Dark Forces too?
There's Pick and Gork, but
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
yeah, like I can see that. They're not fused by shoulder bridge, but
No, they're just yeah.
yeah.
Doesn't one float or is that a different one?
One of them
I
does
haven't played that
float.
game in so long because Gork's a he's a
Morian.
Gamorrean, right? Yeah.
Picadune Seaboodle, I think is his name. Picaroon Seaboodle. He
I gotta play
is
that game again. So good.
no, Picaroon is the Kowakian monkey lizard.
Okay.
One of them was floating. It's kind of like in Pantagea's brand.
Yeah.
Maybe Gork was floating. I don't know. So someone floats, I'm pretty sure. Aw? Maybe. Anyways.
Yeah, I
Overall,
think it is more.
it wasn't my favorite, wasn't my least favorite.
Yeah, Maw gets cut in half, and then
Okay,
he's got a
there
little
we go.
floaty thing. Yeah. It's been so long since I played. I really gotta play that game again. It's fun.
Yeah, I want to
I
play.
hope they
I
do a
just finished
remaster like
Jedi
they did the
Knight.
first one. The remaster for Dark Forces 1 was excellent. Really, really good. Did you play it?
I
Yeah, I know
I
you had
did. I did.
recently just played through. Yeah. You played the remaster or the
I played the remaster. I played like the fan one, and then I played the actual.
'cause I saw you playing I thought the original Dark Forces just raw in the old because I remember I popped in stream and you kept falling in lava. But that was
Does
before the remaster came out.
didn't it have like a swap graphics thing?
No.
No,
I don't think
maybe that
so.
was the fan
But
one.
this stream that I'm thinking of was definitely before the game came out. You might have been playing one of like the fan because they're originally DOS games, so I think a fan made
Hmm.
like a more simple launcher for it.
That
But
might
it's
be what
funny
it was.
I forget which planet it is, but do you remember the planet where you have to get the ice boots?
No.
Well, there's a level, I think it's on Fest actually, the same one as Rogue Squadron. There's a level where you have to get like the ice is really slippery. So to get it, to walk across it, you need to get spike boots. Um, but the thing is, it has something to do with like the old CPUs for some reason, and like how it's simulated going across the ice, and how it
Hmm.
slows it down when you get the ice boots. On modern systems, it slows it down so you're walking at like 0.1% of your proper speed. So yeah, I don't know if it's a frames thing or a CPU thing,
The
but
we
that was
call that
still
the
broken in the
DK's
remaster.
Raceway problem.
Yeah, yeah, that was still broke at relaunch. So or at the remaster, I mean.
I want to play replay all the Dark Forces games.
Every one is good. They're
Like
all good.
my take, maybe I'm going too hard on this, but my even though it's not my favorite Star Wars game, I feel like Jedi Knight, like Outcast and Academy especially, are the most Star Wars games. Like they are
Totally.
the best games that benefit the most from being in Star Wars.
I'd say Knights of the Republic 1 might be up there with me as well, but I totally agree. Like, and I actually think that I think it's a shame. This I think will be controversial. I think it's a shame we don't get more blaster sections, um, in the like in the Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast rather.
I don't think Jedi Outcast needed. I could see more of it in Jedi Academy because I don't think you can use
Yeah,
other
Jedi
weapons that
Academy you
much.
don't get it. Yeah,
But
I mean, yeah. Once you get the lightsaber though, like except for the sniper rifle, I guess you're
I
like I really like those first two levels of Jedi Outcast.
like when I replayed it. Actually, Nar Shaddaa was not that bad.
If you know where you're going, it's not that bad. I replayed it for a video I was doing on that topic. And yeah, I did it in probably like 20 minutes, but the first time I did it without a guide, it must have
Yeah,
taken me 2 hours.
The worst one for me, I think, was the garbage facility when you're inside it.
It's right after Nar Shaddaa,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I that one fucking I couldn't when you're getting Lando or getting where you get
Yeah.
to Lando.
The worst thing about Nar Shaddaa is it happens immediately after you get your lightsaber, I
Hmm.
think. So it's like you've got this sick weapon in this. Like I actually remember playing the game for the first time, and I never played anything like it. So you get the lightsaber, and you got like a crazy degree of movement. You got the force abilities, and then you're back like being sniped from across the map.
Yeah, that you literally can't get to without you have to use the sniper again at that point. Very disappointing.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
love a new Half-Life style or boomer shooter Star Wars game. Like
well, we were gonna
Warhammer
get
had the
the third person respawn game, but that's gone now.
I want like a first person like Warhammer had oh fuck, what was that game called? Bolt Gun. It's amazing. It's just like an old style like Doom uh it's really more like a Quake kind of like fast moving. You get 8 guns, swapped all of them, shitload of ammo, move, shoot, no story really. Um well there is story, but yeah. Would love one of those for Star Wars.
Yeah, I just want more Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Need more
Yeah.
variety.
Did
But
you end up beating Outlaws?
no, I was playing it on Ubisoft Plus or whatever it's called, and then I canceled my subscription, and I don't think I even got off the first planet. So
I Yeah, I played a decent amount. I don't know. It didn't hook me. I, I did 2 or 3 planets and kind of I feel like I'm good.
yeah, my whole thing with it was like the stuff I did was fun, but there's nothing in the game that I feel like the game is best at. Like I still,
I've been playing a lot of it's called Slay the Spire. It's like a card
yeah,
game. But I've beaten it now, so
I'm
unless I
done
want
with
to
that
keep
trash.
turning up the difficulty. Although I don't know. I played it today and it was fun, so I don't know.
I also like it wasn't necessarily just that I thought like Outlaws was bad and I stopped playing it for that reason. It's just my gaming time outside of making videos has been lower,
Same.
and for the last month I intentionally put off streaming so that I could focus on other stuff because streaming was uh not really getting me anywhere and I needed to get ahead on other videos. So that's part of
Yeah.
where Outlaws just kind of fell off.
Yeah, I've got the NBA season started 2 days ago, or 3 days, whatever, a few days ago, and hockey is going and football. So I got no gaming time other than occasionally on my phone, like as I'm lying down before I go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
or like if Graham's asleep and I'm in the car waiting to go somewhere.
Just been a lot of I guess news includes that there was a Star Wars Empire War patch.
Well, yeah, yeah.
But
Gotta watch your video on that.
I think that's all for Glass Abyss.
Yep.
Any other important notes? No? Cool.
What are we
So
doing next week?
uh,
Sorry.
next week is going to be Halloween, and we're going to be doing a
Mm,
Halloween themed Halloween episode, right? Or are we doing
yep.
Wednesday? You're going to be good?
Yep.
You'll be yeah, your kids will be. Death Troopers is what we're doing.
Are we doing it Wednesday or Thursday?
I can do Thursday. It's up to you.
Yeah, I can do Thursday.
Okay. So Death Troopers is what we're doing.
Is that the one that comes first?
Takes place a year. A prequel. Red Harvest is chronologically first.
All right, let's do Death Troopers first. We'll do
Okay.
Red Harvest in the future.
We can just do it next year.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So next week, next Thursday, we're doing a Halloween episode for the first time in 5 years.
Jesus. Fuck.
Right. And in about what, half an hour,
Say
we're
10
going to be
minutes.
live on X2 playing some
Half an hour,
Minecraft. So thank
All
you
right,
for
see you
listening,
guys then.
everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.
Get out of